it out. And the scary thing to me about that, but also the very encouraging thing, is when it comes time for that arrow to be sent out, even my own selfishness won't be able to get in the way. You know, if God wants to send my kid to Africa and be a missionary over there, he's going to send my kid to Africa. And my selfish desire to protect my child is not going to matter because I've done my job to make that arrow straight, and God's going to send it out. And God's going to have the victory through your child. So I want to encourage you as parents, and then I'll have something else to say about battling for the sake of God and our kingdom work for you guys as well. But I want to give the parents a moment to just come and share some thoughts for each of you. And so I asked Veronica if she would go first. And so I know she doesn't like to talk, so.
So when he says that, it's completely true. I'm going to cry. Y'all know that. So just let me get it over with. But 4 years ago, I sat here sending my oldest out into the world, and I didn't feel like I had done enough. I didn't feel like I had led him to do the things that he was supposed to do. And even though, you know, we had taught him everything that we had, it's the scariest of situations. Just send your child out into the world. But with Devin, it's a little bit different. We've cheered a little bit more for him. And not because he's our last and not because we want to see him go, but because I personally feel like he's a stronger person. Not that his brother was weak, but Devin's had different lessons in life and Devin's learned different things. So I completely feel a whole lot different in this situation than I did with his brother. So, but my job as a parent is to embarrass him a little bit. So I'm going to start with that. Yeah. So a couple of things about Devin is he does everything in his own time. He didn't come when he was supposed to. He was a couple of weeks early, and you know, the first birth was super easy, and it seemed like it happened in like 30 minutes, but not Devin. Devin was like 24 hours of pain and agony, and anything that could go wrong, it pretty much did. His dad was able to go to work that night, even though I was at the hospital in labor, and work for a 12-hour shift before coming back because Devin was going to take his time. And so from the beginning, he has kind of done things in his own time. He wasn't quick to crawl. You know, his brother was early on that too. You know, we weren't ready and he was crawling, but no, not Devin. Devin did kind of an army crawl thing, and I think it's because of his brother. He was always there to help Devin with everything. You know, he was there to help. Whatever Devin needed, he would give it to him. You know, Devin didn't even have to say a word because he didn't talk early either. But his brother knew what he needed and what he wanted, and Devin would just give it to him. So he never had to say it. I mean, Dylan would give it to him. So he never had to even ask for anything. And the same for walking, you know. And so Devin had this army crawl thing that he did where he would just crawl with his arms and just kind of pull the rest of his body along. And so that was kind of funny, and so he took his time on walking as well. But he also has a strong personality, if you can call it that. I think that's good. Yeah, we're going to go with strong personality. But when he was a toddler or even a baby, he hated being in a car seat. Hated being in a car seat. So from the time he was born, anytime Devin was put in a car seat, he would scream at the top of his lungs. And this lasted for a long time. So anytime we got in the car to go somewhere, we'd put him in his car seat and he'd start screaming. And the only thing we figured out to do was to turn the radio up. So that might be why he listens to it a little bit loud now. I'm not real sure. But we'd turn the radio up and he'd get louder, which might be why he's a little deaf and kind of loud like Ben too. But but he'd get louder and we'd turn the radio up and he'd get louder, and finally he'd get tired and he would stop crying. So that was our car rides with Devin early on. And then we got to the terrible threes. Oh my goodness. At that point, we would look at each other and think, where did this demon child come from? And I'm not kidding, y'all. We wouldn't know what had happened. We could be having a really great time, and all of a sudden he would just throw himself on the floor and start screaming. And even though he could talk, he would not voice to you why he was screaming or what was going on or what had happened. And so as parents, we were like, what happened? What's wrong with our child? What have we done? You know, like, it was horrible. And so the only thing we could do at that point was learn to put him in his room and give him some time, and he would kick and scream, and we would swear he was throwing stuff or banging his head on the wall, or I'm not sure what he did when we closed the door, but all kinds of sounds came from that room, and we would just check on him a little bit later and say, are you okay? And he would scream louder, and we'd close the door again. And sometimes it would take 5 minutes, and sometimes it would take 20, you know, and he did his own thing. And then eventually, in Devin's own time, he would come out and he could tell you what had happened. But to know Devin now, you wouldn't think he had that personality. He's the calmest. He's the most patient, except with Rachel and maybe Jennifer. But yeah, so he definitely had a strong personality. My notes are gone. But we got through it. And then we got to the teenage years. And we're not going to say a whole lot about the teenage years, but he grew out of that too. And he's grown into an amazing young man. I couldn't be more proud of you, Devin. I love you. But I want to thank everyone here. He's been here for many, many years. And he's, you know, if anything, it's a testimony of hope, the person that he's turned into. And because of you guys' guidance and preaching him and teaching him and the many, many years of church camps that he started when he was probably about 8 until now, you know, the words that everyone's, you know, the prayers that everyone's had for him, he's turned into a really amazing man. So I want to thank each and every one of you for your part in that. And at this point, I just ask that you guys pray for him as we send him out into the world, just for his continued spiritual growth, that he continues to be on the straight path, and for guidance in life from God, that he will always listen and always pray about it and just follow God through the rest of his life. So that's our prayer for him. So, thank you. Dad, are you coming? Okay, I think. More embarrassment, Devin. You're not done yet.
Look, what was it, Art Bell that would say, this is the rest of the story, late at night or whatever, so. What's up? Hey, most of y'all know I've been thrown tonight, so most of the time I don't know if it's Tuesday or Wednesday or have I had breakfast or, you know, did I eat my medicine this morning? So I didn't prepare anything. This is kind of straight off the heart. I was mentioned to it yesterday, and I was like, oh, well, should I think about it? No, it's okay. We'll just say what it is. From all that stuff, I mean, that's probably true, but the dad doesn't remember any of that because Mom had to do all that kind of stuff, the hard stuff. Dad remembers going outside, and he would always be outside. I mean, it was always in the woods. It was always on his little Power Wheel four-wheeler. It was always, hey, Dad, can I get the axe and chop the tree down? I said, well, you're 3, son. I mean, you know, if you come back without a toe, your mom's going to kill me. But I gave him the axe anyway, and he never did. I mean, you know, he was always outside. Always played a sport, whether it was baseball or football or I don't know what the heck this slap ball game's called now, but always out there, you know, and without any real effort. He was always God-gifted, talented, and just at sports. I mean, he didn't come home and practice one iota, and he was usually one of the top 2 or 3 people on his team, okay? That was God-given because he didn't earn it. You know, he did not practice for it. I coached him at baseball. I coached him at football. He was playing soccer in his senior year. And so he's always had a sport, you know. Even at school, I guess God-given brains, because I never seen him open a book. I'm not sure he's graduating Thursday, to be honest with you, because I've asked several times. He says yes, you know, but I've never seen him open a book one time. And yet he always had all A's and, to my chagrin, 1 B. I mean, I don't care what he did, he would not bring home all A's. Even though that's what he was supposed to do, I think he went to one of the teachers and said, hey, can I get a B? Because it would really drive my dad insane. And it wasn't even only a B, it would be like an 89, 1 point away from an A, and it was always 1B. So he drove his dad crazy, just like in sports when he wouldn't practice because he was so good at it. Without practice, if he would practice, he could have really been something in one of the sports. I mean, baseball he was really good at. Football is more political in the schools or whatever, but, I mean, he was always such a good, And she says teenage years, and we won't really talk about those because there were some pretty big mistakes there, But I will say this. Young man accepted Jesus before I did. He accepted Jesus and was baptized before I was. So that's something to be said. This day and age, him and Cricket have been together 3 or 4 years. How often does that happen? I mean, most of them want to go date 50, 60 other girls, or whatever, yeah. So, but just a rarity in this day, and couldn't have picked a greater girl. I mean, we try not to have her over. They're never more than 6 feet apart, and that's for COVID. I mean, that's the only reason they're 6 feet apart. They're together. If you say, where's Devin? I say, I'm going to call Cricket's phone, and Cricket will tell me where Devin is. So it's all good, though. I mean, I couldn't be more prouder. Every mistake his brother did, he followed right in line. She talked about when he was crawling and brother would give him. I think his brother said, look, man, I got caught cheating on a test. You need to do that too. 4 years later, I mean, not the next day or whatever. So every mistake his brother did, followed right in line. He did every one of them, plus a few that were a little more serious, but, But all in all, I can't I mean, he's out cutting grass, in a time that, he could be saying, I can't get a job, Dad, nobody's hiring, COVID, nobody, He's out cutting grass with another kid in the neighborhood, 10, 12 hours a day. So most of them are in there on the room on a video game, Jeremiah, Joel. Doing, I know y'all work hard on the weekends, except for Joel. So he's out doing his thing. He wants to go to Lone Star for a year and a half to get a few basics and then go to flight school afterwards. Mom says send him out in the world. I say kick him out in the world. I'm ready for the next part of our life. Not that I haven't enjoyed both of them. My first one in the military now, couldn't be more prouder, but, more power to him. I'm ready to go with my and Veronica's next step, and they're always welcome to come home and visit, but it ain't gonna be very long. So yeah, we're gonna downsize so they can't stay. Yeah, I'm taking Matt and Annette's approach there. That's right. So, but both of them, for the most part, I mean. Proud moments. Okay, yeah, we had a down moment. Proud moment. Forgiveness is forever. I mean, it's not something you just quit doing. So, I mean, great kid. I mean, I really have no complaints. I'm happy that he's graduating. I'm happy that he chooses to be a commercial pilot or a private pilot or whatever, some kind of pilot. Hopefully stays up in the air, not the crashing pilot. But love him all my heart, ready to go. So that's all I got. I think you're next, Todd. Oh, no. Come on now.
For everybody that don't know, I'm Cricket's dad. And first and foremost, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for being a great church family to her. And to me whenever I get a chance to visit with y'all. But I just want to tell y'all thank you from the bottom of my heart. And yes, I was warned about some of the stories, but first and foremost, I gave her the name Cricket. When she was born, we were in Austin. I was in there for the whole thing. They pulled her out because she was having a C-section, and she was purple and white, and I was like, wait a minute, something's wrong with this kid. So they handed her to me, and I was holding her, and I was holding a pan because she was puking at the same time, and the nurses patted me on the back, said, congratulations, Mr. Heaton, leave, and they left. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we get into a room, and there's a cricket noise. And this nurse comes in. She says, is there anything we can do for you? And I said, yeah, you better get that cricket in here. I mean, it's kind of annoying, and I know when her mama wakes up, it's going to be even more annoying, because I'm going to have to listen to both. So I heard it, and I said, there it is right here. And it's someplace right here. I was laying on a little couch right there. And her favorite place to sleep at that time was right here. Not no more. And it was yesterday that was there. And the nurse kind of laughed a little bit, and she says, no, that's the baby. She's congested. So every time she took a deep breath, she'd come out and she'd sound like a cricket. So I started calling her Cricket at that point in time. And that's where she got the name, and then we added it thanks to the school lunch ladies later in life, you know. But again, Cricket was a I do. And so she when she grew up, she told me not to cry. But it was yesterday that she never slept in her bed. She always slept in our bed, and she finally she this like I said, this was her favorite place to sleep, and I didn't mind. I didn't mind at all, and I'm sorry. I'm not going to take the same approach Donald does. If she wants to stay at home until she's 45, she can stay home until she's 45. Both my girls, I don't want to see them leave. I'm standing on God's promise. God's promise that if you raise them right and you teach them the ways of the Lord, and you let them know that He is the only way, and He's got a course for you, that He promises me. And brother, I'm telling you right now, I'm standing on that promise, because there's nothing in this world that I want to see more than step over into the heavenly gates and be there with my children and my loved ones. But she is she's quiet, but she knows what she wants. She's a hard worker. She decided she wanted her training wheels off of her bike at one time. And Daddy wasn't ready for that. Just like Daddy's not ready for this. But Daddy wasn't ready for it. So I'm telling her, okay, baby. She talks me into it. So I take her training wheels off. I said, now, you know that you got when you put your brakes on, you got to step down. And so I'm coaching her the whole time, because I coached her in everything. Everything we did, I tried to be. I am her biggest fan. I am Callie's biggest fan. I'm there. I cheer them on. When they hurt, I hurt. When they lose, I lose. So I'm holding the bike, and I'm telling her, okay, you got to do this, you got to do this, and all of a sudden, whoo, she was gone. It was just that fast. Never fell, never nothing. She was gone. And I was like, wow, because I wasn't ready for that. She's growing up too fast. She hasn't always been the girly type. Just recently, thanks a lot, Devin, she thought she had to change a little bit, and I wasn't really in for that one there. When she was a baby, she chewed off the fingernail polish off her toes that my mother would put on there. Some folks have seen I still have it. She tried to throw away the cap, the black cap that's now gray that she wore backwards all the time. All the time. We had to bribe her with things to even take it off at nighttime. She was a great hunting partner. If you're a hunter, you know that she's great at hunting, because she's quiet. And she, in fact, we were on a dove trip one time down in Del Rio, and we were sitting there and we were waiting for the dove, and she was quiet. Hey, Dad, can someone make a living at this? I said, living at what? She goes, hunting. I said, baby, you'd make a great hunting guide. You just sit there, you be quiet, and you just point. And that's what she does, you know. But I'm very proud of my daughter. Like I said, she worked really, really hard, because she does have a few obstacles that was given to her that made her have to work hard. I'm especially I didn't start out raising her in God's way. He had to kind of coax me back into. No, he kicked me back into to where I needed to be. But luckily, she followed and she listened. And there's nothing in this dad's heart's better whenever you walk by her room and you listen and she's getting dressed and she's listening to her Bible. And then she comes out and she asks you, Dad, I didn't understand this, and we get to sit down and we get to talk about it. I plead the blood over my babies every day, more than once. I don't want to send her out into the world, but I'm standing on the promise. And I hope she knows that I'm always there for her. Please, if I tell you anything else, as a dad, and as a partner, she's a partner in things, and this goes for Devin too. Whatever choices you make from here on out, they're going to be your choices. But if you stand still and you seek the face of God, and you don't go by your feelings, you go by what He says, I promise you, you will be so successful in everything you do. God may not want you to take those pictures of the insides of the folks, because that's what she wants to go do. He may not want you to do that. Seek the face of God for it. I promise you, you will be a much happier. You will be your life will be just out of this world. Don't be like your dad and wait until lighter years to do that, because I look back and going, if I only would have listened and I would have seeked the face of God for some decisions. So, and thank y'all for being there for my daughter and involving her in the camps, and she would come back energized and wanting to spread the word and wanting to do the things for Jesus. So I don't know what else to say. He told me I only had like 6 minutes, and I think I've gotten 15 in. So, but thank y'all again, and I am proud of you, baby.
Stay up here real quick. Hey, Devin, Cricket families, y'all come up here. We're going to pray over you. While they're coming, I just want to remind you guys, when we talk about being arrows being sent out into the battle, this is a battleground. None of you out here, don't let yourselves be fooled into thinking we're in a peacetime scenario. No, we're at war. We're at war as the church. And so when we send out our arrows, we're now christening you guys as soldiers. Your mom and dad's faith isn't good enough anymore. It's got to be yours. You got to own it. You have to own it, because you're soldiers for the Lord. So I want to read you this, and we're going to pray over you. Ephesians 6, we all know this. It says, take up the whole armor of God. Now you might say, oh, great, I've got armor. I'm protected. But listen, it says that you may be able to withstand the evil day, having done all you can to stand. You got to do something. And so we're going to give you some weapons today. We're going to cover you in prayer today, and we're going to send you out. We're going to send you out with the blessing of God. So before we pray, I just want to give you guys